Hi there, and welcome to the Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is July 14th. The garden writer Jennifer Latham once wrote that in July, the garden is at its strongest. She remembered that if she picked a squash, another one wasn't far behind. The beets, she said, were the most fun to pull from the ground. The dirt held tight to the roots, but after a long, bouncy ride home in the wheelbarrow, most of it had fallen away, and they were ready for a rinse in the sink. Her mom cooked them in a pressure cooker. Little Jennifer ran to the far end of the house every time the steam hissed. It frightened her, but not enough to stop her from eating the beets. It became, she said, one of the sounds of July, because every July has its own soundtrack. The hiss of a pressure cooker, the thump of a wheelbarrow rolling over uneven ground, a kitchen knife against a cutting board, a screen door banging shut behind a kid running back outside for one more squash, one more bean, one more beet. By July, the waiting is mostly over. And if you stand still long enough, in the kitchen or out by the rows, you can hear it. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1891 that the French botanist Henri Gaussen was born in Provence. He shared his birthday with his country, July 14th, Bastille Day, the French national holiday. When Henri was 10, his family moved to Foix, a mountain town in the eastern Pyrenees near the Spanish border. From then on, he walked, with a camera over one shoulder, a notebook in his pocket. The valleys, the ridges, the forests, the streams. People called him the pedestrian of the Pyrenees. Henri was 23 when the First World War began. Captured by the Germans, he spent most of the war in a prison camp. Every day he walked his mountains from memory. He remembered where the pines grew, where the beeches ended, where the firs began, where the trees gave way to bare rock. When the war ended, Henri went home, and he walked those same trails again. This time, he wasn't simply remembering them. He began to notice. A meadow was a little smaller. Young trees where there had been none. A hillside beginning to erode. The mountains he had carried through the war had not stood still. Neither had he. Henri returned to Toulouse and wrote his doctoral thesis on the vegetation of the Eastern Pyrenees. Then he spent the next 50 years walking those same mountains again and again, asking himself the same question: why does one plant grow here and another somewhere else? Henri liked to say plants have addresses. They don't grow where they wish. They grow where the climate allows them. He walked, he photographed, he returned, long enough to see what most people missed. Henri wrote that vegetation in the landscape were only stable for a single generation. He watched meadows become forests, lilies give way to trees. Henri Gaussen died in 1981. He was 90. And it was on this day, in 1883, that the American horticulturist and forestry pioneer John Aston Warder died. For nearly 20 years, he practiced medicine in Cincinnati. Then, at 43, he retired and bought more than 300 acres overlooking the Ohio River from the widow of President William Henry Harrison. There he built himself an English manor house from limestone quarried on the property. And then he planted tamaracks, scarlet oaks, slippery elms, hemlocks, catalpas. He studied them, lived among them, and he created what many consider to be America's first agricultural experimental station. John liked to say that if something was worth planting, it was worth planting for generations. In 1875, he gathered a small group of tree lovers in Chicago. Together, they founded the American Forestry Association, and John became its first president. When he died, the Ohio State Horticultural Society remembered him with a poem written just for him. Mourn Flora and Pomona mourn. Mourn rural taste and festive mirth. From scenes he labored to adorn, Warder has passed away from earth. He taught us how to grow choice fruits and flowers of the brightest hue. To horticulture, he brought recruits, both intelligent and true. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear from the American novelist Irving Stone, born on this day in 1903. Irving spent his career writing biographical novels about extraordinary lives. Vincent van Gogh, Michelangelo, Charles Darwin, and Sigmund Freud. He believed the only way to write a life was to live inside it. For the book Lust for Life, he retraced Van Gogh's footsteps across Europe. For the book The Agony and the Ecstasy, he and his wife spent more than 2 years living in Italy. And when he wrote about Charles Darwin, the couple lived in Darwin's own home and worked in his study. Years later, Irving admitted that whenever the writing stopped, he knew exactly what to do. He said, "These days, if I have trouble writing, I step outside my studio into the garden and pull weeds until my mind clears. I find weeding to be the best therapy there is for writer's block." It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Self-Taught Gardener by Sydney Edison. Sydney once wrote, "Gardeners really do not need another book. They need a gardening friend who is a step or two ahead of them. So I offer to be yours." That's exactly what this book is. Not a manual, a companion. Sydney teaches landscape design, perennials, trees, and shrubs. But more than that, she teaches confidence. She knows that gardens disappoint us. Woodchucks eat our favorite plants. Trees die. Shrubs outgrow their place. But she refuses to let discouragement have the last word. She says, once you've been bitten by the gardening bug, you will rise above disappointments. I am here to egg you on. Sydney's hope was that this book would become for gardeners what Dr. Benjamin Spock's book became for parents, a trusted friend when you aren't quite sure what to do next. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day, July 14th in 1873, that the English gardener Teresa Earle wrote in her garden journal, "How beautiful are the really hot, lovely English summer days. They come sometimes and they are exquisite. Nothing beats them. Why, oh why, can I never enjoy such things without that tinge of sadness which moderns call morbidness? It does no good, but I think of someone who is ill, or of those masses and masses of people in that dreary great city so close. As I enjoy my garden alone, with the beauty in the flowers, the flood of summer light, and the intense pleasure of it, I long to do something. And longing generally resolves itself into picking flowers for somebody. Teresa's journal became the basis for her book called Potpourri from a Surrey Garden. She dictated it to her niece, Lady Constance Lytton, who urged her to publish it, though all along Teresa feared her husband, Captain Charles Earl, would not approve. But she did it anyway, and in the summer of 1897, on the very day the book appeared, Charles left home on his bicycle to meet a friend for lunch. He never arrived. And Teresa's book became one of the most beloved garden books of its time. But Charles never lived to see it. And by the time her readers reached the July 14th entry a few weeks later, Teresa's words had taken on a new sadness. She lived another 28 years, and every one of those summers, she picked flowers for somebody. As we close the show today, remember, the garden in July is generous beyond reason. You pick one squash, and another baby is already waiting. You pull the beets, rinse the dirt, cook them in the kitchen, and eat them, even if the pressure cooker scares you half to death. Because July is like that. It hands you so much, so fast, that you don't even argue with the inconveniences. The mosquitoes, the sunburn, the strange noises in the kitchen. You take it all because the garden is finally in full song. So for this week, listen for the sounds of your July. The squeak of the wheelbarrow, the screen door, the knife on the board. These are the sounds of a garden keeping every promise it made back in April. And we are the lucky ones, standing in the kitchen to hear it. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.